Hey, what's up everybody, this is Strick501 and today I want to go over how you're able to get the exotic marksman rifle Merciless in the Division 2. Now I also want to go over its talents, its stats, and just generally how it works, because it does have a pretty unique talent lineup that amounts to the weapon being pretty unique in how it works, but coming out pretty much useless as a weapon itself. But it's still super good to have and have equipped because its holster talent will increase the DPS of whatever main weapon you're using by a decent bit. Now, how you're able to get this is the main way people farm this is the Jefferson Trade Center mission. The last boss has a chance to drop it. That's pretty much it. It's just a random drop from the last boss. Now, I have seen this weapon drop for multiple other missions in the game from the last boss, but I'm not certain if it's just a drop, a possible drop from every end boss from all of the main missions. So I would also recommend just doing the Jefferson Trade Center mission because it's one of the quickest missions in the game. It's not too hard and pretty easy to learn, and the end boss is pretty easy compared to most. So I'll just recommend doing that mission and you'll get it in no time. Now for the difficulty. Basically what happens with the difficulties is going up every difficulty, the end boss will drop one more exotic piece of gear, just random piece of gear, and any one of those exotic pieces of gear that the boss drops can be the Merciless. So if you can do it on challenging quick and you're geared enough to do it on challenging. If you feel like you're not geared enough to do it quickly on challenging, just go up the difficulties, but do as hard as you can if you can do it in a good amount of time, because that just increases the drop chances of Merciless. Also, you're able to trade it with people, so if your friend has it or if a random has it and they get it, you guys can always trade this weapon back and forth. So that's pretty much how you get it. Now, what are the stats of this weapon? So this weapon drops at 450 unless there's some sorcery you can do. I've only seen this thing drop at gear score 450, and I haven't seen a way to upgrade it yet. It is a rifle, so it has critical hit damage plus 15% like all rifles. The damage will change depending on what kind of stats you have. It's 260 RPM with a 30 round magazine. You cannot put mods on these things as of right now, and that's pretty much it for like the base stats. You can't really change the stats of this much. The damage changes just what kind of stats you have. Then the talents are what are pretty unique. So the first one is binary trigger, which I don't think this talent, any of these talents are for any other weapons. This first one seems like it could be for other weapons at some point. This weapon is equipped with a binary trigger that fires on trigger pull and release. So basically it's single shot, but it fires when you pull the trigger and release it. So it's kind of a burst, but you can't hold it, and it's less like a burst and more, I don't know, kind of some pseudo burst type thing. Then we have kind of the thing that does all the damage if you're actually using it as a weapon, and that's guerrilla warfare. Pulling the trigger fires primer rounds that stay embedded in an enemy. Releasing the trigger fires the detonator rounds that detonate all primers on the enemy it hits. Each primer detonated gains plus 75% damage per primer detonated. Only one enemy can have primers, and at most 5 primers can be embedded. So basically when you pull the trigger, it puts a primer into somebody. It will also have a it tells you how much primers are in the person you're looking at, or you can only have one person, so how many primers you have out on the side of your weapon, which helps quite a bit. But you pull the trigger, a primer goes out, you let go of the trigger. If you hit that target with a primer, it blows up the primer. Now it gives a ton of extra damage per primer, but the reason this weapon is pretty much useless is because if you're hitting the same target, because you can only have one primer, or you can only have primers in one target, you let go of the trigger, it'll instantly just blow up that primer, and that's where most of the damage come from, which makes it a weapon. If you don't have any other ammo, this weapon will still do damage, but you pretty much don't ever get more than one primer into a person. Now, what you can do if you just want to test this is you can, and I'll show you guys this in the firing range, you can actually just pull the trigger and hold it. After you hit it, aim off the target and then let go. and then go back and do it again. And that's the way you can get up to 5 primers. And with like no damage increase to explosive damage, I was doing, I think, 5 to 600,000 damage on the fully 5 stacked primer explosion. But how long it took me to do that is really not worth it unless someone has found some ridiculous explosive damage build that makes this thing hit like a truck. It would also be super hard to do on moving targets, but I guess you can try it. Now for the holster talent, which is the reason anybody wants this, because no one's really going to use the guerrilla warfare right now. With how this weapon is, it's kind of cool, but it doesn't really work well. While holstered, landing a shot has a 5% chance to deal plus 20% damage as explosive damage. Now, this will proc quite a bit if you're using fully automatic weapons with decent RPMs, which most people in PvE are using. And you'll see the small explosions quite a bit, especially I think my assault rifle is 750 RPM, so I see it quite a lot. And also, if you happen to get lucky, say if you're using the signature sniper rifle, I've definitely gotten it before where I hit a headshot that hits, you know, over 1 million damage, and then that blows up for basically another 20% damage because it doesn't just directly increase the first hit. It blows up with the hit and does another amount of damage for 20% of the damage you just hit. So that's actually pretty insane with snipers if you get it, but it's much better used on like assault rifles, high firing rate weapons, because you're just constantly getting these explosions. So it's just a overall damage increase, a pretty decent damage increase for basically any main weapon you are using. And that's pretty much everything for this weapon. It's so far, it's probably the best or the second best secondary weapon. I've actually seen some people using this as their go-to prime or secondary weapon over the Chatterbox, which is another exotic. But I've definitely seen some people doing like over 1 million DPS builds with this as a secondary, doing kind of an explosive build to get that extra explosive damage. So if you want to try that out, go ahead and try that out. Let me know how that plays out. I'll definitely be trying out a build like that if I can get some good explosive damage rolls. But that's pretty much it. So subscribe if you want to see more Division 2 content. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you think about Division as a whole, what you think about the Merciless rifle, and thanks for watching.